Hey, morning. I feel like I've let you guys down. I went for lunch yesterday with my friends, like I said I was gonna. And I never went to go do the ride around Joburg. But anyway, today, I'm not meeting any friends because they keep you busy, those acts. So, so I'm going now. But I saw this morning, I read in a news article that Chaskelson, the evidence leader for the Matlanga Commission, is now saying, right, we need to start looking at these police officers and their lifestyles and how they can afford the lifestyles that they lead on their police salaries. I told you. It's going to start there, and one's going to bleed into the next. And like these people these four city officials that got arrested now at Ekurhuleni, this Imogen Mashazi and Mkwanazi and all these oaks and you know what fascinates me? You check the video footage of them going into court. They're still arrogant, eh? Still arrogant, still think that they something fantastic, not understanding in that small little minds, or those small little minds of theirs, that it's not money that makes you, or that gains you respect. Money doesn't gain you respect. Maybe in the culture that they live in, money is what gives them respect. But, for the most South Africans or most people around the world, if you've done well in business and you've made a lot of money and, you've clawed your way to the top, people respect you for that, particularly if you're an honest businessman. Your yes is your yes, your no is your no. People will respect you for the money that you've earned and that you're doing well. But if you're earning your money by ill-gotten gains, people are going to try, pretend to respect you in order to get their hands on the money that you've stolen. And you're walking around in this false sense of importance, thinking that everybody respects you because you're so wealthy. Meanwhile, behind your back, people are telling each other what an absolute flippin' charlatan and crook you are and what a POS, piece of shit, you really are. And, this is these people. They walk into court. I've been in court for things that I've done wrong. And I've always realized that I did something wrong, and I've always felt deeply ashamed for, the activities that I found myself engaged in. Now, I remember sitting in where was I? Modderby. I was in Modderby awaiting trial for 3 housebreakings that I was charged with, right? Because of drugs, stealing for drugs. But, truth be told, yes, I was guilty. But unfortunately, the legal system, fortunately for me, unfortunately for the legal system, the justice system, as you know, it's broken, and I got off. But I was sitting there waiting trial. And I'll never forget, in the cell is made for like 30 people. There were like 80 people in the cell. And I had a moment of clarity. I looked around this place and I looked at the people sitting around me. And, it's like a voice spoke to me. And this voice said to me, is this how you were brought up with? Is this what your mother taught you? Is this what your grandparents taught you? Are these the values and morals that they taught you that have brought you to this place where you're sitting in this place with these, child rapists and flippin' murderers and armed heist oaks and all around me, drug dealers, other drug addicts, all around me. And I remember that voice clearly in my head going and saying to me, is this how your mother brought you up, brother? Is this? And I promise you, the sense of shame that came over me there. I don't think I've ever been that ashamed in my life. I was once charged, and it made international headlines for a thing that happened in the rehab where I was working. There was a big, big problem there. And it made international headlines. And you know what, as much as it was all over the news and that, I never felt a sense of shame because I wasn't guilty of anything. I wasn't guilty of anything. If I was guilty of anything, it was following instructions in order that I could attain my own recovery. But all the things they accused us of there were not true, right? And so I never had that sense of shame. I had to go to court and all of that, and ultimately we were proven to be absolutely not guilty and exonerated of that thing. But I never had that sense of shame, even though my mother phoned and said, yeah, look what you've done now. And I said to her, look, I haven't done it. You should be ashamed of yourself. I said, I'm not ashamed of myself because I've done nothing. But when no one knew what I'd done, and I went and stood in front of that magistrate, and it was a lady magistrate for those housebreaking cases. And, the state just failed to prove their case. That's pretty much what happened, and we got off. But it took 3 years, but we got off. And but I've never felt so deeply ashamed in my life as having to stand there in that court and, they read your charges and people are looking at you thinking, I said, check at this flipping scumbag. And I watched these people walk into court this morning, arrogant, got that look on their face. What are you going to do to me? We've just stolen millions from the poor. We've just broken everyone's and violated every trust that people have had in us as police officers and municipal managers and that. And we've just ripped off and raped the poorest of the poor, yeah. And arrogant, put. And, I don't understand the mindset. I just don't understand the mindset. And at the same time, of course, they've got supporters. People support them. Not their family. Your family will always support you. Your mom will always support you, no matter what you do, right or wrong, except my mom. She was min. But most people. These people have got supporters, claiming all kinds of things, Like this Malema fellow. Exactly what I said he was going to say is what he said. Agents of flippant capital and this and that are trying to set him up. But, brother, stop it. Okay? Everyone knows. The only people that still believe your hogwash don't even believe you, but they don't want to say that they don't believe you because then, they have to admit they were wrong and they don't want to admit they were wrong by supporting you. Everyone knows in this country now, you're a crook. You're a crook. You've always been a crook. We've always known you were a crook. We could never prove you were a crook. But the Khan Syed WhatsApps have now proven what everybody already always knew. You're a flippant crook. You're a crook. You're a paper tiger revolutionary. You're a revolutionary in Gucci shoes. You know what I mean? Sheikh Kavara never wore Gucci shoes. He lived in the jungle, but if you want to be a revolutionary, get rid of your house in Sandhurst and go live in the bush, but and be a revolutionary. At a bare minimum, we might not agree with your revolution, but at least people will have respect for you. You can't drive around in Range Rover Sports and live in flipping 30 million rand houses wearing Gucci shoes and Rolex watches and then come and tell us that you're fighting for the poor and you're a revolutionary. Don't come and talk cuck, but only dumb people believe that. Dumb people. But you rely upon dumb people. Dumb people are your business, but you make money off dumb people. But the rest of us, we know. You're a flipping crook. And now you've been caught with your hand right in the middle of the cookie jar, and now you're trying to blame outside forces. Or did the outside forces stick your hand in the cookie jar? Stop talking cuck, man. Please. You're making a fool out of yourself. No one believes you, really. No one. Except the fools that follow you still. Your own second in charge left you. That should tell you. Floyd Chavamba walked, but the oak who started it with you looked at this whole story a couple of years ago. What's it, 2 years now? Said, this oak, I'm out. And not that his hands are flipping perfectly super clean, but you know, when your second in charge steps, you got to understand, no one believes you anymore. But same thing now with Cyril Ramaphosa. Eh? ANC members claiming that this is all a setup at Phala Phala by Jacob Zuma. You know, it fascinates me in this country that no one will ever take any accountability for wrongdoing. Ever. Huh? It is unbelievable to me. And as this oak is denying and trying to sidestep, the investigations are going deeper and deeper, and now it's going from 3 million rand or 5 million rand, $570,000 to now maybe 8 million rand, and now already this oak's talking about a R1 billion slush fund. It's getting worse, but because you refuse to take accountability. If you took accountability for the $570,000, took the rap on the knuckle, said, all right, sweet, you oaks got me, then it would have died. But this ongoing flip and denial is just making people dig more and dig more and dig more. And the more they dig in, the more they're finding. And you're getting deeper and deeper and deeper in the trouble. You know? And if it is Jacob Zuma, imagine this. If Jacob Zuma was trying to find you and catch you for something, but you'd done nothing, and there was nothing to find and nothing to catch you for, what's the problem? But you see, you're all stealing. All of you are stealing. And the one is just being able to expose the other one stealing better than that one. You know? But at the end of the day, we know that you're all crooks. All of you. You're a bunch of crooks. You're a bunch of criminals masquerading as a liberation organization. But you're actually just crooks in suits. I'll never forget that saying from that movie, Young Guns, when the youngster asked Billy the Kid, there's a sign outside the town says, we don't tolerate scum. And the youngster says to Billy the Kid, the 15-year-old says to the 21-year-old Billy the Kid, Billy, what does scum mean? And he says, you know, bankers, politicians, lawyers, scum. And it's really that. Now, the big story, but I see this actually developed in America in April already, but it's only broken here now, that they caught a former Brigadier General of the South African Air Force busy with spy activity in America and handing over American secrets to people. It's not looking good, guys. It's not looking good, Brie. And you know, I keep saying to people on my podcasts, you oaks in this country, you know, you don't understand these two countries that you are trying to go to war with on every level. You're trying to go to war with them politically. You're trying to go to war with them economically. You're trying to go to war with them on the propaganda front. You're trying to go to war with them around every corner. You know, and those two countries specifically are the United States of America and Israel. And yeah, you sit in South Africa, you know, because you've got some high position in the ANC and you think you, I don't know, the ruler of the world. And, you know, the arrogance is just astounding to me. And, you know, you continually, you know, saying the things that you say against these two countries. You're taking Israel to the international, right or wrong, whether you were right or whether you were wrong, is irrelevant in this argument. You do not have the capacity to put your money where your mouth is if things get really serious. And when you don't have the capacity to do that, in other words, if Israel now turns around and says, okay, we're declaring, that won't happen, but let's say it were to happen. And you must always think like this. It might happen. Israel turns around and says, all right, you're not South Africa. We're actually tired of your kaka. And they attack us. And they attack us with the support of America. How are you going to protect your citizens in this country? What? Huh? Because you wanted to go and be the big mouth hero in The Hague and show the world that you're this beacon of morality when you're not. When more people are dying in South Africa every day than have died in the flipping entire Gaza. More people die here per annum than died in the entire war in Gaza. What? You're attacking citizens from other countries in this country, other African citizens, under this disguise of illegal migration. It's not your job to attack them. It's the government's job to remove them if they're here illegally. Not your job to attack them and beat them in the streets and flip and loot their stores with. And the world is watching you. And then while that's going on in your own country, you want to go stand in front of the flipping United Nations and tell them how cuck Israel is. I mean, really. How stupid do you think people are? I always say this to my guys at the rehab, right? Don't judge my intelligence by your intelligence. Don't think because your level of intelligence or your IQ is X that my IQ is automatically the same or lower than your IQ. And this is the problem with these South African politicians. You look at this Ronald Lamola. How does that guy get to the level that he's got, if not through cadre deployment? Have you watched him speak? Have you listened to what he calls logic? And this guy's in charge of diplomacy with people like Marco Rubio and Xi Jinping. This is the guy that is supposed to be our diplomatic liaison with these countries. And we wonder why that Donald Trump is laughing at us. There's articles now this morning. He is literally laughing at this ANC government in terms of what he is seeing is going on in this country with the xenophobia and the what he calls white genocide and the economic what's the word I'm looking for, policies, and now this chick that got arrested for the spying story in America, he's literally, there's actually now footage out, he's actually making jokes about us. Like, are you joking? Check these flipping idiots, what? And it doesn't feel good, Blue. This country just moves from one chaotic state to the next chaotic state, to the next chaotic state, to the next chaotic state. And in amongst all of this, people like myself, and there's a number of us with some kind of logic and intelligence, are just trying to negotiate all of this. And then, you continually considering the options of leaving behind the land you love. Because it's more and more becoming an option. Because this country is becoming more and more and more unlivable, ungovernable, and has, in my view, very little opportunity for a future for anyone that's looking for anything that looks like a future. These guys are adamant in bringing South Africa to the same position as Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Malawi. In fact, they praise the governments of Mozambique, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and others. They don't praise the successful African countries that have come out of that nightmare and are trying to do it a better way. No. But these countries that are destroying their people and destroying their own economies and looting and stealing from their own people, the ANC just loves those. And they want us to become like that. They want us to become so poor that we can offer no resistance whatsoever. That's their mission. Because a broken nation cannot offer resistance, and then they can just continue plundering and looting at will. I'm telling you again, this whole March on March thing has got absolutely zero to do with foreigners. Maybe the people on the ground think they're doing a good thing, going from business to business, tuning business. What you just don't seem to understand is these businessmen have got access to capital, they've got access to lines of credit, they've got access to all kinds of things. They can literally pack up their businesses, take their money, and go and open those businesses anywhere else on this planet and leave everybody in this country with no work and no hope of any future. And more these businesses are doing it. And you are just too flippant stupid or too flippant blind to see that you are chasing away the very source of your survival. The entrepreneur. Because he might employ 2 Zimbabweans. It's ridiculous. You think that if that closes his business or he gets rid of all those foreigners, that you are now automatically going to get this beautiful flipping job. It's not. He's going to get rid of them, do his flipping sums, check he can't make money, pack up his business and go and reopen his business in Rwanda. And still run the same trucks in and out of South Africa, but in a business-friendly environment like Rwanda. And you're too daft to check it. Or Zambia now. People that have caught a wake-up. You're too daft to check it. No, they must go. Ababe. Running around in the streets with flipping Springbok skins on your head. Chasing people around in the streets like you some kind of, African superhero. Wakanda forever. What are you, the Black Panther, but? You're a joke, but. You're an absolute joke. Because you don't understand. You're being used and you don't understand what you're doing. Is ultimately negatively impacting you. Every flippant statistic that they've brought out shows that people that have come from other countries to this country have in a great way, not all of them, but have in a great way benefited the economy of this country. But maybe that's what upsets you. Maybe it's the fact that some of these people are doing what you have been unable to do. Have realized that, what they fought for, that freedom that they fought for in their own countries was just a lie and a pipe dream. Because as those African leaders took control of those countries, they just destroyed the countries, torched those countries. Zimbabwe went from the breadbasket of Africa to a desert. 3 million of their people are in economic exile around the world, of which the vast majority are here. And then Cyril Ramaphosa is there patting them on the back for an excellent job in liberation and decolonization. And then you've got the gall to come on here when I point these things out and call me a racist. You know what? I wasn't going to say this, but today I'm actually going to say it, and I don't give a shit what people say. All right? I'm going to come with a revolutionary idea to the majority of this country. Are you ready for this revolutionary idea? What if, has this ever entered your mind? Has this ever entered your capacity of thinking? I know it has entered my capacity of thinking, because when I adopted this way of thinking, my life changed for the better. Here's the thinking I want you to consider. I'm the problem. I'm the problem. And collectively, we are the problem. It's not the colonizers. It's not apartheid. It's not the foreigners. It's us. Have you ever thought like that? Have you ever had that brain fart? Eh? When you look at what's happening around you, and you're watching this country flip and plummet down a flippin' bottomless pit of destruction, and sat back and thought, hey, you know what, hey? Maybe it is us. Maybe it's us. Maybe we are the problem. Why is it that we can get on with nobody? We get on with nobody. In fact, to the point now we can't even get on with our fellow African neighbors. We get on with nobody. Everybody else is the problem. It's never us. We are always right. Even when we're wrong, we're right. Huh? What if, maybe sit down and think about that. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe collectively we are the problem. Maybe the reason things are tanking is because we are wrong. How's that for a revolutionary idea? And let me tell you what will happen when you have this and you start weighing it up and maybe come to the conclusion that, hey, we are the problem and we are wrong. You know what happens? You start fixing it. And then you know what happens when you start fixing it? Things get better. You know, in addiction recovery, we talk about a thing called denial. You must go look that up. Until you step out of the denial that you don't have a problem and that you're not the problem, you can't fix the problem because in your mind there is no problem. You're not the problem. When you're an addict and you're in addiction, everything around you is the reason why your life is failing, except your drug addiction. Go ask any addict that's come into recovery. When they have that epiphany that, you know, I'm the problem, and they step out of denial and they say, I am the problem, I have a problem. That's when they start correcting the problem. And look what happens to the vast majority of addicts in recovery. They rocket into success. Because they know what the pitfalls of denial are. And I'm telling you, South Africa, you're in a collective denial. Because you're forever blaming everyone around you, when in fact, you are the problem. You are your own worst nightmare. You're looking for solutions when the solution is right in front of you. Correct yourself. Correct yourself. That's the solution. And when you correct yourself, everything else will spin into alignment. But while you're trying to correct everything as outside circumstances as the reasons for your failure, forget about it. All you do is you isolate yourself and ultimately you decay and die. Addiction Recovery 101. Drug addiction 101. And it's the same. I've said it for as long as I've been on this platform now, more than a year. The only thing that is separating South Africa as a whole from addicts is that the most of South Africans aren't on the drugs per se. They're not on the symptom. They're not medicating themselves. But their mindset is an addiction mindset. This is how addicts work. All right? Everything must work in my favor always and forever with zero effort from myself and some kind of external force continually supplying my needs and wants minute to minute, day by day. And if that doesn't happen for me, all right, then the problem is not myself, it's everything around me that is out to harm me because it's not working in my favor. Whenever I demand something, it must happen. Whenever I want something, it must happen. If it doesn't happen, then I throw a tantrum or I go back and I use drugs. And everything must work towards me getting my drugs. And that's how South Africans work. That's how they think. Someone else is always just like this guy from March on March. The government must just give us each R1 million a year. We don't have to work. Okay. Where's the government going to get that R1 million a year? Hasn't thought that far. Not his problem, do you? That's like an addict. What? My mother must get me out of jail. My mother must buy me a car. My mother must do this. My mother must look after me. I'm 40 years old. But give no thought as to where does mom get the cash? Not my problem. I must just get it because I exist. That's addict thinking. And that's how South Africans think. And I think that's why they don't like the foreigners. Because the foreigners have caught the wake up. They don't think like that anymore. They're running away from their own countries to go and try and find work elsewhere. Because the mom, their country, their mom, has run out of money. Must wake up. We must wake up. And acts like me, we're looking at it and we're scheming, you know what, bro? I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore. Should I just bite the bullet, take the little bit that I have, and at least go survive elsewhere? Because, I must, I'll be honest with you, I'm getting tired of coming on here and talking about this on social media and then getting attacked for it, when all I'm telling you is the truth, the facts. People don't want to hear the truth, they don't want to hear the facts. And I'm going to try and do this. Let me tell you what happened last night, and I'll close with this. Last night I went to bed early, because I always go to bed early these days. I used to be able to stay awake for 5 days, no problem. Now I go to bed early. And I went to sleep, and I woke up this morning, and I saw a whole lot of messages on my phone. But before I went to sleep, I lay in my bed, and I watched a movie called The Book of Eli for the 97th time. I love that movie, because it speaks to a modern-day prophet. And that movie brought such a sense of gratitude to me for God and what God means in my life, and how God has sustained me, and how God has looked after me, and how God has protected me. And last night, after that movie, I said a really heartfelt prayer to the Lord. And I said, Lord, I just want to tell you, and I'm saying it here publicly, Lord, I just want to say that I'm very grateful for you looking after me and putting a hedge around me, when in fact I should have been dead or in prison. And you've saved me from that, and you've set me free, and you've cut my bondages from addiction. And there's no better evidence of that than me staying at home alone with no one here and not doing anything stupid. And I said, Lord, tonight will you just flip and put a hedge around my home and keep your watchful eye over me. And last night, next door, 5 armed intruders, without my knowledge, tried to hit the people next door. We're trying to use a concrete block to break into their plot. Now, they're quite far from me. They didn't succeed, but they were trying. 5 masked, armed intruders were trying to break into the house next door to me. And I was lying here all by myself, fast asleep, with God protecting my home. And I just want to say that I recognize that, Lord. And thank you for being my deliverer and my protector. And I want to say this. Jesus says, you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And when I speak and you hear the truth and you block your ears and you start screaming and shouting and throwing tantrums because you don't want to hear the truth, you will never be free. South Africa might be free politically, but let me tell you, the vast majority of South Africans are still completely captive in their minds. They can't get their minds free. There's people living in this country that can't free their minds from apartheid, thus they are still victims and captive to apartheid. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And there's only one truth, my friends. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And if you're not willing to flip and step into that understanding, you will never be free. Never. No matter how much money you have, no matter who you think you are in terms of status, until you understand that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And no one will get to the Father but by Him. You will always be a slave. God bless. Have a great weekend. Cheers.